Look at these thumbnails, guys. I gotta show this to you. Loot fixed. 400% more loot. Loot buffs for everyone. Except magic finders. I bet Surgog loved typing that in. Except magic finders. Oh, that is actually a real screenshot from the game. Okay, so loot fixed. What is this? Loot fixed. I should start doing that. Just put my face on the screen. Something else down here. Look at this. What is this? I'm about to go back into my VODs and see if I can find this exact screenshot of in my own VODs. I swear that probably exists. 5 divines, 10 divines, 6 divines. This is like literally Calandra League. This looks like Calandra League. It's probably Affliction League. I'm guessing it's Affliction League. Darth Microtech, what is this? Alright, this screenshot is somebody who took 4 divine orbs out of their stash and a chance orb, and they dropped them all on the ground in the same place on top of in the map of Mire to make it more conspicuous, and then they screenshotted it. Hey guys, what's up? Snoo here. We're back again. Time for another YouTube video, time for another 100 maps farming session. Why? Because I said in the last one that I did with the results that I found in the event that the eventual new patch would come out and it would have any sort of profound impact on magic finding, I would do it all again because it would be such a great thing to get to the bottom of how different the loot would be, especially if I could try to replicate it one for one. And while that's not really possible to do with all kinds of different Waystones, different precursor mods, different Atlas tower setup, you can still do a pretty good job comparing 100 maps to 100 maps. That's going to give some nice results. So that's what we're doing today. I'm not going to go over in great detail all the different things in the setup because we kind of already did this. So you can watch the other video. It's going to be linked in the description below. I made roughly 6 divines per hour. I made, let's see, I found about a third of the currency that I found in 0.1 with a kind of a similar farm. Hopefully that's insightful. I got a little bit luckier than usual, I guess, getting like a raw headhunter and a fall of the axe, a couple of really big high scoring unique drops. And yeah, so we're going to see what happens. I'm very much looking forward to the results. I'm especially looking forward to seeing what some of these tiered rares look like because it's not something I counted at all last time. And for the sake of compare and contrast, we won't count it this time, but we are going to take special notice of those for sure because supposedly a lot more of these really, really high quality rare bases should be presenting themselves in this farm. Just as a TLDR, the changes that took place affected greatly Delirious Rarity Multiplier, which may have something to do with Quantity Multiplier too. You see there is a hidden Rarity and Quantity Multiplier inside Delirium, depending on how deep you go in the mirror or how much Deliriousness there are. Most of these maps will have 36% Delirious because they will have 45% increased number of rare monsters, so that's how most maps are set up. And the loot boost from this particular mechanic has evidently been boosted by a 2.5x in terms of how much rarity you're awarded from that. It's a little hard to quantify because some of these numbers are kind of hidden from us, but that's what they said, and so that's honestly a pretty big deal. Also, they said there was a pretty big buff to monster rarity. This one seems to be the most impactful one, as when we, last time we had the Atlas, we had a keystone that gave us 2 additional monster modifiers, which tremendously impacted the loot. In fact, if you're wondering where the loot went this time compared to last time, that was the single greatest loss, especially if you're breach farming, was a loss of 2 additional rare modifiers on rares, and that's got to be at least 50% of where the loot went in general. So while we're not getting those rare modifiers back, we're evidently getting more rarity through each individual modifier that rare monsters have, or even magic monsters, I think, and unique monsters. Now, to offset this somewhat, we had a reduction in the rarity rolls on precursors like this. It only goes up to 10 now. Very small thing. Waystones still roll the same way, and this is where you're going to get most of your rarity anyway. I mean, you got numbers that go up pretty high. They can go all the way up over 100 in some cases. It's a little rare, I guess. We have 107% on this one. But we also lost, the big loss, so to speak, was rarity on gear. Okay, this would be things like what I've socketed in my body armor, the suffix here, and the corrupted implicit on the ring. So I have 99% rarity on gear still. Again, trying to be as one for one as I can. And that is going to be less impactful now. They're trying to help smooth things out, give the little guy some more loot, and people like me with a bunch of rarity gear, magic finders, are going to be finding less relative to before. Although, again, I really wonder about that. I wonder if, you know, just the fact that you have yet another multiplier for rarity doesn't just have profound impacts on the loot even still. Again, we're here to find that out. So as going down the line, the target of the farm will be raw divines. It's definitely going to be high tier uniques because those definitely manifested themselves last time. And it's going to be a lot of things like catalysts and splinters and stuff that, while only a few per map don't seem to mean much, they add up a lot over the course of 100 maps. And somebody said in the chat, a mirror. Well, yeah, sure. We're targeting a mirror, sure. No problem. Yeah, okay. Going over the Atlas, I'm still going to be running the same mechanics. It's running Breach, exact same way. Ritual, Expedition. I realized that doing the 100 maps this past time took me quite a bit longer time than doing it before, because I used to just skip Expedition and Ritual. And so I'm probably not going to skip them, but it's just going to be something I'm a little more conscious of. I don't like how long it took me to do the maps. Last time around, I feel like I was just spending a little too much time on those. Asmirian Spirits got buffed too. I'm not spec for it, as you can see, because we're trying to, you know, remove as many variables as possible. Before, you know, if there was conveniently located and it could spawn into a rare monster or whatever, I'd let it do it, but we only did it a few times, so I don't know. The Atlas is exactly the same before, all double increase effect of Precursors, increase effect of Waystones, hoping for the prefix proc here, hoping for the Precursor proc here, and increased number of rares, pack size, yeah, exact same thing as before. Moving on to Precursors, I have the exact same, basically the exact same setup as before, because I have 4 Breach, I have 1 Expedition, 1 Delirium, 1 Ritual, 3 Irradiated, and then 2 of these special Irradiated Precursors. One of them will allow me to do the maps more than once, removing irradiation instead of completing the map, and the other allows me to access maps all over. Collectively, the value of these is shuffled a little bit, but they're still together worth about 2 divines in total, somewhere like that, I think, maybe a little less. And we're not going to be counting the Precursors as worth anything, because again, I had like an entire quad tab full of Precursors and was able to just kind of sustain premium Precursors that way by using the 3-to-1 on the reforging bench for those that didn't roll very well. I was able to just look at dozens and dozens of them, and so it's not very hard to sustain them when you spend 100 maps doing 4 towers worth of maps. Yeah, let's look at towers here. We're now looking at another different setup. And if you watched the video last time, it does matter a lot trying to compare and contrast with the quality of the tower setup. I think I've done a pretty good job getting something here that is quite similar. We have 4 towers, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 corrupted zones, and we had 2 corrupted zones before. These towers are a little bit further spread apart, and so it's not quite as advantageous, with maybe a little more water as well. As well as some extra completion area been taking place already, but I have a 5th tower over here that's been preloaded with some quant, and so there's definitely fewer maps connected by 4 towers, but there's more maps connected by 3 towers, if that makes sense. And in the end, it should probably even out. I'll spend my entire time around here, and hopefully I can get 100 maps worth of maps to do in this area. As for the investment cost, it's pretty simple. I'm still going off of the rubric from last time, which was about 17x per map invested. I do think the investment costs have actually gone up a little bit because people caught on to the omens and things, but I'm still going to use that number, again, to try and one-to-one comparison as best as I can. Total of 14.2 div invested across 100 maps, and then, yeah, having an extra 2 div invested in the Visions of Paradise and Grand Project ones. So not counting the Waystones themselves as worth anything, just the 17x-ish to roll each individual Waystoning, including like corruptions and, you know, all that stuff. All right, first thing I'm going to do is, notice I have 2 maps that are ready to go. I'm going to actually put in run the maps twice. in Alpine Ridge. But before I do that, I want to make sure I get over here and do this tower on the left and also the tower on the bottom. And so we're going to start with the leapfrog right here. And this is going to allow me to jump straight into this one. I'm going to run this with a Waystone that offers unlocking all 3. Yeah, let's make sure we unlock it, the whole thing. I must be the only... Dude, what? This kind of did roll well. I mean... This is almost great for Amazon. Holy crap. If that hits another high tier res, it's probably good. How do I play with screen shake? I don't know. Not so bad. I mean, it's kind of like putting a laptop on top of your mom's back, so... I mean, I'm used to that. I'm sorry, that was like... that was like Mach 10, dude. that was way too harsh of a mom joke. Whoa. Whoa. God, even I couldn't handle that. Jesus. Seems like I've noticed something about the people that enjoy PoE2 and those that don't. Yeah, older gents. Well, I don't know. Like, there is a weird sort of crossover between like Zoomer and like, I don't know, for lack of a better way of saying it, like lazy person who only wants to press one button. Because you would think if somebody is like super into video games, they would want to like go really fast and also press a bunch of buttons at once. But it seems like people don't really. People just kind of like one or the other extreme. Is Expedition less rippy? Because I feel like I should have died there. Why are people judging how long the campaign is in that way? Why are you even comparing how long it takes to do the campaign in PoE1 to PoE2? Why is that even like in the back of your mind? It should be a clean slate, totally different. It is not a remake, not a remaster. It is not an expansion of PoE1. It is a different game. Chance Orb and Divine instantly? What? I mean, developers worked so hard on the campaign. It's obvious they want it to be a huge part of the game, i.e. a different game. It's like the same people who just like, you know what? There were a lot of people who booted up PoE2 for the first time thinking, how do I get through this campaign so I can get to the end game ASAP? What's the best build so I can get to the end game ASAP? There were people who actually went into it with that mentality. It's like so far divorced from the idea of enjoying the journey. I almost can't even conceptualize it. Most of these issues are from the campaign, like currency drops made to feel worse by duration. Okay, well, no, here's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of you guys are not going to like this line of thinking that I have, but it is honestly my real thoughts. That is just an extension of you comparing PoE1 to PoE2. How do you even know what is quote unquote not enough currency drops? How do you even know what that means? Like, the developers are the only person or the only people who would know what that means, because they have an idea in their head about what constitutes enough currency drops and what doesn't. Nobody else knows. And to think that you know the answer to that, or to have any idea whatsoever, is based on your preconceived notions of how you should be performing in PoE1, i.e. PoE1 brain rot. That's what that is. A very solid case of this is whenever Jonathan got memed up and down for talking about regal orbs and disenchanting and said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I have enough currency. You know, if people don't have enough currency, we'll look into it. But everything we've seen from our testing on our end, I play the game every night myself. You know, I have regal orbs. I don't know where people are. And then he talks about disenchanting. And then people were like, LOL, this guy disenchants gear. Well, yeah, he's apparently playing the game the way he views it meant to be played. Jonathan probably also isn't rushing to the end game or thinking about it from that type of mentality either, by the way. Kind of goes without saying. Oh, I died. Wow. The thing that people may have missed is Jonathan took his time. Yeah, he probably, like, he maybe cleared zones more than once. Fuck, I don't know. Would it be that crazy to imagine? Oh, unique monsters have additional modifier. It's kind of rough, yeah. Jonathan is not a good baseline for the... Think about what you're saying, dude. You just said Jonathan is not a good baseline for the game, in my opinion. I'm sorry, it's one of the dumbest things I've ever read. He's literally the leader of PoE2. He is the person who talks to every single developer and knows the game better than anyone. Mark would be better. Alright, again, I said a lot of you people wouldn't like this line of thinking. You know why Mark is not automatically better than Jonathan? Well, two reasons. One, because the average player isn't Mark. The average player would be much closer to Jonathan. That's the big reason why. I mean, that automatically wins the argument there. But on top of that, the game shouldn't be balanced around what the absolute top-end endgame player would want anyway. Like, that wouldn't make for a good game. It should be balanced through the lens of somewhere in between. It shouldn't be balanced through the lens of, like, the most Giga Chad, the least Giga Chad casual or whatever, but... You know, I shouldn't be balancing the game with things that I specifically would want. The challenge is blending it all together, making it all work for everybody as best as you can. Compromises will have to be made on all ends, in every direction. It's part of it. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Dude, this is a good ring in the making. What? This ring actually is kind of comparable to my own. No, item level 82, tier 8 flat fire. Dude, if I somehow like slam a bunch of like flat damage, that's gonna be some big slams there. Are we getting some tiered rares up in here? Look at that. Double leech? Double tier 3 leech? You know what happens when you put attack mods on these end up being like 10% each. Or like 10% life, 9% mana or something. It's crazy. That's gonna be crazy. Could it be? Like one tiny little area I didn't scout. Is it here? Of course it is. Wait, I can't click it. I can't. Get what? Oh, it means there's a monster still alive, attached, tethered to it. Okay. Where is it? Where? Got him. Dude, I'm gonna get that Chaos Orb, man. That premium currency. Oh, yeah. That's mine. Where's all my Twister duration coming from? Good question. So the cool thing about this build, and one thing I love about the support gem system and this skill in particular, people often meme on the skill system like, well, of course you're just going to put like 5 damage links in your damage ability. I only have 2 damage links in Twister. I have Inevitable Crit, which is, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't even consider this a damage link. And then I have Overextend, which is definitely a damage link. That's it. I actually have 0% more damage multipliers on Twister. Persistence is where I skill effect duration, accelerations for prog speed, because these effectively increase the damage. Longer lasting, going faster. Make it sound like a Viagra ad, basically. And then salvo means if you haven't gotten off in a while, you shoot a bigger load, basically, is what salvo is, okay? So, I mean, this is like the ultimate Viagra package for Twister. Yep. Hey, this is worth money right there. I've thought about making a crazy meme. Like, if I was actually really good at making videos, I would make like this fake like Viagra ad, except make it for Twister, and then just like show like all the supports and talk about what everything they do, and it'd be so funny, dude. You could make such a meme, such an amazing meme video like that. The idea is there. It's all in my head. It's not really the kind of thing I do. So. But yeah, he must have some like. There must have been a time when his channel was in the heyday where he was just getting crazy growth. Nice. We got a divine one. Divine. Do I have time to do this? Surely. Surely I have time. Yes. Rarity tier? There's another big rare. What? Another Whoa, what? What in the world? 4 unique precursors in one map. Yo, I'm about to start spamming High Deli, guys. What is this? What is this? What? Perfect jewel. We found it. We found the loot. Loot has been found. It has been found. I got a fun complaint on my YouTube comments about the rant video. They said something to the effect of, wow, look at this guy who's complaining about people complaining about how slow the game is while he runs a PoE1 build. Can you guys make sense of that? So I was complaining about complainers who were talking about how slow the game is while simultaneously running a PoE1 build. I'm running a PoE1 build. I'm pretty sure if I put this much time and currency into a PoE1 build, I would be moving at least 3 times as fast. I'm pretty sure. At least 3 times as fast. Now, I love moving fast like we're doing here because whatever the parameters are set to, I want to move fast. I think it's really hard for people to understand. I don't know why it's hard to understand. You guys remember seeing that video of like Grimro doing the what was it, Ward Loop tornado shot on a beach map? And he just like went from one end of the map to the other in like less than 10 seconds. Completed the map in like 10 seconds. Couldn't loot anything because, I mean, it was just way too fast. I feel like surely when people see that, they think to themselves, yeah, that's a bit much. Because, I mean, if somebody looks at that and they don't say, yeah, that's a bit too much, then I don't know what to say. So, I feel like it should make sense when even I, somebody who's a blaster, juicer, and all that, when somebody like I say, I like moving fast, at the same time, I would like to play a game that slows us down a little bit. I want to go as fast as I can. I want you to restrict the absolute top end of speed that I go, so I'm not just playing brain dead gameplay. Please and thank you. Is it really that hard to believe that somebody like me would want to go slower? Like, I want to go as fast as I can, but I want to go slower at the same time. Sometimes I think that just doesn't compute with people or something. And I just don't know how to make it any more clear than that. I guess I don't want to completely trivialize the game. Even as far as like feeling like a god or whatever, I think my bar for quote unquote feeling like a god is just a little bit different than some people's. I want to feel like a god if God was immortal or something. I don't know. It is not like this inherent bad thing that we move slower or that zones are bigger or that monsters are faster even. Because again, if Jonathan was, I mean, this sounds kind of rough to some people, but if Jonathan had the gloves off and he could actually say what the fuck he wants, I bet he would say, if push comes to shove, he'd probably say, well, why don't you just run the same zone again till you get an upgrade? If it's that bad. If you're struggling that much, you got that much bad RNG, maybe you should, like, that would be a really great question for him. I would love to ask him, like, is there ever a scenario where you think it should be the proper strategy to rerun the same zone to get upgrades in the face of struggling on content? Combination of factors. Skill, player error, skill issue, bad RNG, scuffed build. I'm sure the honest answer from him would be yes. That's okay. It's okay for that to be the right thing and for the game to even be balanced around such factors that if you are having an issue with some combination of skill issue, gear issue, build issue, then you should be made to run the same zone again. That's on you. It's not on like everybody else to make this game so much easier. Like, what about if you do an excellent job making a build and you're an excellently skilled player and you get reasonably good RNG, then yeah, I would say, okay, you know, it would probably be pretty rough if even you in your situation had to like rerun zones and stuff. But that should be your reward for being really good at the game, is you don't have to like rerun zones. Like, I'm anticipating that total noobs of the game are rerunning the same zone over and over, and that doesn't seem like a terrible thing to me. I mean, it just doesn't seem like a total even in the face of them having the experience of playing other easier ARPGs, including PoE1, the campaign, if you want to include that, and them not normally having to do that. Minion crit bonus, minion damage, spell damage, extra ailment threshold. Is this a good jewel? It looks like a good jewel to me. I don't want to play this boring story. Okay, again, I feel like I could take this argument so far down the rabbit hole. You guys are going to hate me for it in the end. This goes along the lines of like, why is everybody rushing to the end game? If this was Diablo 2 and all you ever played with Diablo 2, you obviously wouldn't be rushing for the end game because there would be no special end game. It would be only the campaign. When people say, I don't want to do this boring story mode, did they not make the campaign better than it is in PoE1? I mean, if your only criteria for how good a campaign is how fast you can go through it, then you and I are not going to agree on anything. But in my opinion, the vision is, as it were, players shall enjoy the campaign much more in this game. Hence, we can have them spend more time in the campaign, and that'll be a good thing. Especially in the EA, when they scuffed the end game and it's not, like, finished at all. At least the campaign is, like, at least as far as Acts 1 through 3 are concerned, the campaign is basically a finished product. I feel like so many people are just, like, deliberately not enjoying the campaign because of the preconceived notion that they should be rushing to the end game as fast as possible because that's where the real game is. Again, I feel like I have the authority to speak on this topic as somebody who plays the game focusing on the end game. Like, even I can look at it and say, different game, more time spent on the campaign sounds good to me. I think it took me 22 hours or something to get through Acts 1 through 3, Cruel. Like all 6 acts or whatever. I didn't complain about one bit. I didn't have a problem with it at all. It took me a long time because I had to like work full time on those first few days. It was like one of the only times I didn't take like even one day off. It's 100% tour. You must get to the end game ASAP. PoE is an extremely competitive game. PoE is not an extremely competitive game. Unless you're like doing like actual racing and for money and stuff. It's fine to like build some competition into it, but especially in the early access of a new game, Where is that coming from? That's coming from PoE1 brain rot. That mentality is PoE1 brain rot on steroids. Think about, okay, take the PoE1 brain rot, put it on a shelf somewhere, put your regular brain in for a second, and think about how ridiculous it is to play an early access and to think that you should be rushing through the campaign and to feel bad about how slow you're going through the campaign. Oh my god. It just sounds so ridiculous to me. It's too much. Too much loot. Oh my god. Yo. Here for Stellar Amulet, what? Percent armor? Accuracy? +3 all spell skills with Int and Lightning Res. Yo, those are some wild suffixes, man. It looks like... I mean, the only things I've heard come up in conversation for better loot are... strong boxes, Trial of Sychemus, Arcanist chest, and Delirious maps. Particularly like deep Delirious maps. Another Divine Orb. And obviously Breach is still at least, at the very least, B tier. At the very least. So it's a nice, you know, standard. I like how people in the comment section of the new one were like, see, now you get it. Why we wanted more loot. Nice, Divine Orb. But I think they misunderstand. I can simultaneously be you know, have my lizard brain excited from getting more loot and also wish for the longevity, health of the game without, you know, feeding deep into the excesses. Like, have a little bit of patience. Another star? Another Divine Orb? What? How about 2 Divines for 1 map? I mean, it's fun. Like, it's obviously fun dropping a bunch of loot, but... I mean, a lot of people walked away from last season saying too much loot was dropping. I mean, that was kind of one of the complaints, especially from Breach. I mean, people weren't completely off the rocker. They understood that there is such a thing as an excessive amount of loot dropping. Now, they complain about other things, like crafting and stuff, but... like, it was kind of crazy how much loot was dropping last time. I don't know, man. It almost seems like we're seeing the same thing again. Maybe. Yeah, I was fine with loot before the patch, too. Like, the less loot that's dropping, the more meaningful it is when it drops. Unfortunately, I still hadn't sold my body armor. I was being really stingy with it, and now it's too late. Like, I've waited so long that the market has already started becoming saturated with, I kid you not, triple perfect prefix best in slot ES body armors of 1100 ES. It's like suddenly there's like 10 of them on trade. And many with res, and they're up for like, you know, 50 div each. And it's just like, well, now that drop that I dropped is not actually anywhere near as special as it was at the time. Which, I mean, is fine. Like, it's not inherently a bad thing, but, like, that is a consequence of dropping more loot across the board is whenever you do drop loot, it's just not as special. You know, so when you, like, weigh that in, I don't know, it just kind of tempers my excitement a little bit, I guess, you know? But yes, in the moment, dropping a bunch of loot relative to what you've been dropping recently is exciting. Up until the point where the game is ruined because it's like Diablo 4 meme, or even Last Epoch meme levels of loot. And it's just like, well, what are we even doing here? Definitely don't want that to happen. You gotta take it in stride. I guess is my big message to people. Take it in strides. You ask a toddler what he wants for dinner, and every single time the toddler says ice cream. Don't be surprised if bad things happen when he gets ice cream for dinner. Over and over and over and over again. You think people are more critical since they can't play PoE1? Well, yes, I agree. That doesn't really make it any better, though. We talked about... Hey, perfect jeweler. We talked about this yesterday. Two things can be true at once. GGG can be bad for failing to update PoE1 when they said they would. And then, like, people can be... The community can be bad for, like, judging PoE2 extra harshly because it's not PoE1 and they can't play PoE1 with new fresh leagues on a normal default schedule that they're used to. Like, both of those things are true at once. God. I hate that mob type. If it gets a jump on me. Wow, it does so much damage. Hey! There's another divine. It's a divine. That was a breach divine, by the way, I think. Making it kind of harder to replicate. And, you know, I'm just kind of timid to bring it out and update when I do that. Whoa, Kosis! Kosis, what's up? League monsters have an additional rare mod, maybe? Alright, wait a minute, what? What's going on? What's gotten into this map? What makes this map so special? Oh yeah, it spawned with the bonus rarity mod on the map. The cleanse mod was bonus rarity. I got extra rarity on this map. I mean, it's not like the numbers aren't that special. 36%. Yeah, there's nothing special. I'm just getting lucky on this map, actually. That's just luck. Oh. Can I get a divine? Hidden these breach buyers. Thank you. Got him. Got him. Divine orb from an expedition. Can he get in there though without dying? That is the question. Ah! Got it. Hey, yeah. Thanks for that, buddy. Boss loot. Has anybody farmed bosses? Like to try to get raw divines to drop off? I think that's a... I might have gotten like 3 or 4 raw divines off of bosses across 200 maps. I mean, that's... That doesn't sound that terrible considering I'm not using any like boss precursors and I'm really not like most of my maps don't have bosses on them. And then obviously I'm you know, I don't have any overseer precursors with like, you know, bosses have 25% increased rarity or whatever it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the best rare I've ever seen in Ritual. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's probably the best rare I've ever seen in Ritual. Wow. I will buy that right now. I usually don't even check that stuff, but I mean, that thing is good. Alright, see how I'm like I'm like teleporting, but I'm also... I cast the twisters and then I go around moving and then I like port and then kill something. It gives me frenzy charges. And then I use barrage, soaks up frenzy charges, gets me more. But I can just constantly left click stuff, so I'm able to like run really fast with whirling slash and dash really hard, fast across the screen if I can target an enemy anyway. So it feels like it's got like 2 wicked fast movement speed components to it. This is another video I need to make. I need to make a video talking about how to make temp chains go down to 0% with like 9 passive points or something. 7 or 9? Wait, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 passive points equals 0% temp chain on me on this build. Although that's with a from nothing jewel in part. Another divine orb, wow. I gotta make a video on the cast on crit setup and why that works with the double mark and how all that works in maps as well as single target. Some pretty incredible strength in that setup. Gotta put out the 100 maps of this video. Gotta put out the video talking about how GGG may have made a really bad decision trying to push out a half-baked endgame with a bunch of PoE1 mechanics instead of just actually focusing only on the campaign to make it a less finished but more refined game for what was presented, I guess is what I mean to say. Yeah. Good. Omen of Sinestral Erasure on deck. Bruh. Well, I mean, I guess I should do that one for sure. 26 left. Oh, I get an audience of the king. Honestly, those are cheap now anyway. Wow, we got Whittling and Sinestral Erasure on deck. Yes. Nice shot build. Oh, nice. Look at that. I'll definitely do a chaos. Is there a chaos essence on that? Ooh. That reminds me of the boot I got last time. And I can do a speed essence on this. Hey, 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 hey. Got some essences for the boots lining up. Wow, massive mana. Huge mana solar amulet. Alright guys, I think I'm ready. This is quite a process, man. I really missed the applications. Give us a wealthy exile for PoE2, please. Woo! Anyway, I'll do it for you guys. Nice and pretty here. We have all the currencies, the chaos. We got 20 raw divines, omens. I actually had to liquidate a few things in advance. It's sitting over here. Some of the catalyst stuff. I'm definitely going to be using a different loot filter next time I do this farm. But a couple things you'll notice right off the bat is that definitely dropped way more like rare jewelry. I didn't drop anywhere near this much rare like tiered rings and amulets, so expect to get an amulet or ring upgrade off trade if you haven't already looked. I would definitely suggest looking because those are just going to come flying in. I'm talking like 5 to 10x the number of tiered jewelry pieces. So they really increased jewelry, I think. Other tiered rares definitely way higher, and this list is at least double the size, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times the size, just tiered rares. A lot of really nice stuff to potentially craft on. Also got more uniques than I did last time, a little bit, but no jackpot uniques. That's really going to hurt the actual currency per hour number in the end. Of course, it's kind of a range depending on RNG. So I got the short end of the stick this time, I think. Still got Precursors and Waystones stuck over there. So right before we do the numbers, because I'm going to need to like liquidate all this stuff to really figure that out. First thing I'll let you know, major insight. A reminder that based on my 100 maps farming session prior, pre-patch, I was seeing roughly a third of the amount of just raw currency, particularly higher, mid-higher currencies like Exalts, Chaos, Divines. I was tracking against a 0.1 farm that was most equivalent. Not exactly, but anyway, yeah, about a third of the loot. Probably felt relatively in alignment with what you guys are feeling. The difference between 0.1 to 0.2. You had your loot cut by about a third. Or 2/3, rather. Now, what happened this time? We are looking at... Let me do the numbers here in real time. 1,099 exalts versus 778. From last time, this is a 41% increase in the total number of exalted orbs, raw exalted orbs. We have 231 chaos over 147 chaos last time. That's a 57% increase in raw chaos drops. We have 20 divines divided by 12 divines, and that's a 67% increase in the total number of divines. Divine's a little bit shakier because the sample size is pretty small, but certainly seeing the difference in exalts and chaos is quite reliable data there in the hundreds. And you also see the spread increase a bit based on rarity. So yeah, I'll speak to more of that towards the end, but I definitely think rarity has been buffed a lot. In raw loot drops have been buffed on account of the rarity, since we're seeing, like, especially more higher tier currencies than before. So loot doesn't not appear to be back in its original form from 0.1, at least as far as farming Breach and Delirious maps, but the gap was closed for sure. Anyway, now we'll get to liquidating all this stuff that I can, and we'll look at the numbers. We'll gamble all this stuff, and some of that will be on highlights, some of it not, maybe. And I'll give my final thoughts, and that'll be it. We'll close out the video there. Hey guys, welcome to final results. We have liquidated everything. Got our little notepad out. So we got some logbooks. Certainly did a few expeditions. Got about 1.1 div here. They've gone up in value a little, by the way. I think the most exciting and interesting and unforeseen result of all of this is the unique precursors, 2 visions of paradise, each worth almost 3 div apiece. Grand projects, way more common, worth a lot less at around a quarter of a div or somewhere in there. And the total value there is over 10 divines in unique precursors. That gets me pretty excited because that I think I know a pretty good way to farm those. And yeah, we might see something in the future on that. As a hint, just look at the highlight video about that one map where it said we found the loot. Yeah, some of that was unique precursors. 1 uncut gem from one of those special strong boxes, 1.1 div. Uniques 0.4. So you're gonna see the results, total results in this really massively undersell a lot of this, especially with the changes, with way more tiered rares and more uniques dropping. I'm not really counting any of this stuff still, and I think I'm gonna make a sea change on that moving forward. It's just too much value in tiered rares and stuff, especially magic finding. That really needs to be factored in. It's gonna be hard to do that. I'll think about how to work that in the future. We'll still gamble this stuff, of course, but you know, for the time being, as far as like default value of items, the only thing in here of any real value is Tangleton. We got 4 of them. Everything else is basically not really worth anything without it being corrupted in some sort of special way, or you know, good exalt slams that and whatnot. Some of these rares are already worth like well over a divine, by the way, but it's just very difficult to quantify that without actually selling it. So for now, not counting it, uniques 0.4 div, and then currency 53.2 div. That's as a result of liquidating everything I possibly could, which you saw a moment ago. This entire thing is now empty. Also not counting any of these jewels. Now look here, there's a ton of jewels in here. There's a couple that are like mana on kill, and there's even one jewel that has double crit rolls in it. There's some corrupted blood immunity stuff in here. Clearly, some of these are going to sell. I have no idea what they're going to sell for the time being. Yeah, some of the big ones, even uncorrupted, were these right here. But it's just such a hassle to try to anticipate how much they're worth that, again, still not counting. So all the things on the left and all the things on the top, counting at almost 0 value. With that said, net profit 51.8 div per map 0.5, div per hour 4.5. So why is it lower? It's definitely lower because last time I got 6 divines per hour. We dropped more loot, got less currency. Well, it's because I didn't drop a headhunter or a fall of the axe. And it's really that simple. Those are way easier to anticipate the value, and you can sell those at the snap of a finger for their projected value, basically. So since those didn't drop, the total amount was less, and so you just didn't quite get as lucky. That's why I put the number, you know, 4 to 8 div per hour, where I got like 6.5 div that hour. I knew I got lucky. and that's why that range is there. This time the range will probably be 5 to 10 on the title, because obviously it's better than it was last time. And if we start counting any of this stuff in any real serious way, it's clear that this goes well above 5 div an hour, even at like baseline. I would guess, just as a sheer blind guess, like after gambles and all this stuff, where I just like slam all this stuff, I probably earned like, well, let's see, I'm net profit 51 div. Do I think I could probably pull 50 divines out of literally all this stuff here? Probably. There's probably a couple of magical slams that'll happen will be like worth 10, 20 div items. Some of these jewels is probably at least worth 10 to 20 div worth of value somewhere in all these jewels. Because these are only the good ones, by the way. I already threw out all the bad ones. They were truly bad. So do keep that in mind. Again, that's just how I'm kind of working it right now. I actually just realized I forgot to count the serpent's egg entirely, so I'm going to have to look that up. Maybe that changes the numbers slightly. Anyway, first, we're going to gamble all this stuff. We're going to Val Orb these uniques, and then Exalt Slam a bunch of stuff, and even some Essence Slamming on some of these boots, like this. That's going to be pretty exciting. Got a couple boots, I think. Yeah, this one too. Alright, so gambling starting. Let's do the Tangle Tongues first, see if we get anything good here. I think we're good. It's qualityed, it's socketed, and it's now got 2. But it's only 16.7. Here's an 18.89 into 2. That is going to have some value. 13.4, which... yeah, I'm glad it moved the needle, but we got 19.2, which gave me 8% attack speed. Oh, wow. Isn't that... that's a perfect attack speed corruption. That's best in slot for 0.1 in the Pillar of the Caged God. That's such a huge slam to hit that. I never did hit that on Pillar of the Caged God. But, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, this could still be nice because some people are going to care about the attack speed. And this is more than you can get in a rune or anything else, I believe. Yeah, this is... I mean, this one right here is 2 div. Right now, it's 2 div. For that hit. Unfortunately, this appears to be worth less than 2 sockets. This number with 2 sockets is about 4 div, but with 8% attack speed, it's just 1 div-ish. And probably harder to sell, too. Tons of rares. I really don't know what these are worth, but I figured this is probably worth something, and I probably couldn't have got a better slam than that. It's about 46% damage. Who knows if Pierce is worth anything? I'm guessing people want double crit, but that seems like an awful lot of really good mods. Maybe you guys can let me know if that's any value at all. Yeah, I don't think anything really huge happened here. Well, yeah, this quiver, maybe? We have 2 Tangle Tongues that are clearly worth a few divines. I know some of these jewels are going to sell for several divines. Amulets and rings, though, man, that stuff is like impossible to hit good. There was the one with the spell. I don't know if somebody would be interested for some reason in double life spell skill gems. Again, not 3, though. I had a couple interesting slams, but, you know, couldn't line the stars up on anything real major. As usual. Yeah, so we're going to give final thoughts there. I'm basically done. As I mentioned earlier in the results, these these precursors, these unique precursors, they drop as a specialty item as I believe the only currency item in the game that is technically currency that can also roll different tiers, as in normal, magic, rare, and unique. And there's probably not any real conversion thing going on there. And in the particular map where I got 5 of these, I'm pretty sure I only dropped 5 precursors off of cleansed monsters. Cleansed monsters can only drop currency. That map was 125% delirious, and it was well rolled with a ton of rarity. I think it had over 200% rarity on the map, and I have 99% rarity on my character. And then the rares obviously had modifiers which gave them increased rarity, and it probably just hit this sort of like this benchmark that just guaranteed it to spawn unique. If it rolled precursor, it dropped unique, guaranteed. And these are still worth a decent amount. The Visions of Paradise is less common, But I could see a potential intriguing farm shaping up in the back of my head, having discovered all of this, that would revolve around trying very hard to find tower setups, even just 3, that have a bunch of corruption going on there. And then I could cleanse the areas and just spam them with super high delirious maps and force a bunch of unique precursors to drop. And it would be pretty challenging content. I think it would be pretty satisfying. It's not something I think everyone would want to do. It would definitely require some setup. But you could also just get some breach in there and do some nice breach magic finding as well. The native monsters on those maps would also drop a ton of stuff. I got a perfect jeweler and a divine in that map anyway. It's not just about farming these precursors in that case, but that would be sort of the most niche target of the farm. It would just, you know, be currency in general and uniques and stuff. Hoping to see some more big ticket unique drops in the future. I was a little let down doing 100 maps and not seeing a single one. There actually are a fair number of global, like tier 0 unique drops that are worth a lot, like some, you know, 10, 20, 30 div. Alpha's Howl, I haven't seen that one yet either, so yeah, so that's basically where I'm at here mentally. I'm not that surprised by the result. I think Rarity is having a bigger impact now than it ever has before. And I really don't know how that shapes up with the player rarity. If player rarity matters more or less, because, you know, when the number gets bigger, the number gets bigger. Even if you if you buff certain multipliers, that number gets a lot bigger. Even if you nerf other separate multipliers. So at a certain point, especially on things like I'm talking about, like benchmark rarity numbers to hit, always dropping unique precursors, something like that, bigger number better, always. In which case, having rarity on gear would actually matter a lot, even if it's been smashed or you know, the diminished returns are much worse. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video. I think moving on, I will do maybe some +4 simulacrum farming. I hadn't really seen some results of that in any serious way. It's been made a lot easier. And deeper delirium also drops more loot, so I mean I would expect more raw drops from simulacrum, +4 for one thing, and the deeper delirium, and less likely to rip. Of course, I'm going to continue magic finding because I want to do that. Not really that interested in pinnacle content outside of simulacrum, not for this build especially, but it's been serving me well. Some of you may not know that I did manage to recombinate perfect prefixes aside from it not being merciless. And I'm currently working on a potential, I mean, well, technically, potentially mirror tier worthy flying spear. The reason to choose this base is for the twisters. They move faster. It's a local modifier on the spear, so it's really good. And I may continue trying to whittle crit multi into this one, which is honestly not that far behind from this guy right here. Obviously a terrific suffix package already. Alright guys, if you have any questions, let me know. I hope these results are really insightful. I'm really glad I did the farm before and we got to see after. We went from like a third of the loot we were dropping in point 1 to maybe 3/4 of the loot, or at least 2/3 of the loot that we're dropping in point 1. That's not a bad way of thinking about it, rounding up and down or whatever. You know, we were dropping a third of the loot, now we're dropping 2/3 of the loot. At least. With more emphasis on the higher tier stuff. Dropping more often. Maybe almost as often. Because of rarity and the change there. What other farms have you guys tried out for magic find? Anything you're checking into? The wisps, I don't know if they're that good. Strongbox chests are looking like they're pretty good. I'm hearing a lot of things about that. Bossing magic find, still not really sure about that. But I'd be interested in hearing you guys' thoughts. It's a whole new landscape now. And so that's going to be it for this video. We got to move on, do some more farms in the coming future. Still not playing PoE1 right now. Still looking into PoE2 content. So with that, I'm out. I'll see you guys next time.